عالم خسر يبنى 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 I will build this world from love. And you must build this world from love. And if we build this world from love.
By adults, but that everything they're doing feels really meaningful and has inherent positive feedback. So, for example, if they're working on a project, they see the end result. If they're making decorations, they hang it up themselves. If they're doing tzedakah, they get to follow through. We've started calling that process Tzedakah Live. Phyllis Newberg coined that. So just to give you some semantics, many of you probably watched the video that the teens helped create with our registration, but just to review, we use the word seeker to refer to student. One of the ways of promoting that connectedness and joy is to get away from having it feel so school-like here. We're all here because we're seeking something. We're not here because legally we have to go to Sunday school, like regular school. We're here because we all want community. We all want a Jewish identity. We want our families to have that as well. So we use the term seeker. We're switching from religious school to Sunday school this year. We decided not to completely rebrand the whole program this year and come up with a new name. So this is really an incremental step in the direction of working with our families and our kids this year to consider whether or not we want to completely rename and rebrand it, because we are including the capsule program and cultural experiences, and we're trying to be a home for people from multi-faith families as well. The phrase Sunday school just felt a little bit more comfortable than continuing to call it a religious school. So you'll notice occasionally religious school will slip out from some of the staff here because that's a term we've used for a long time, but we're working on making it Sunday school instead. Lead parent, again, trying not to use classroom semantics. Hebrew homeroom refers to the first hour of every Sunday, and we'll talk about more of that. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. Minyan refers to the second half of every Sunday, the groups that our seekers will be in for their Judaic curriculum. And you may see in some calendars and some documents, although not the calendar we'll be using tonight, the phrase program day, which really just means a regular Sunday school day at Temple Bethel. The Hebrew homeroom. What is Hebrew homeroom?
Thumbs up that everybody's hearing all right.
I'm not getting it. Is everyone hearing me okay? Can I get a thumbs up? Rabbi would like, okay. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Perfect. Thank you. So Hebrew Homeroom is a response to an overwhelming piece of feedback I've gotten from the last year, which is that we'd like to bring Hebrew back into the classroom more purposefully and more effectively. So it also combines a strong opinion I have, and that research is showing that modern Hebrew, the Hebrew that kids find fun and interesting, that they can actually use if they're, sharing their love of Hebrew with their friends or preparing to travel to Israel, for example, that incorporating that modern Hebrew, the conversational Hebrew, the fun vocabulary is part of what helps make this an identity building opportunity, something that they really feel connected to the language for as a result. Anyway, so we're reincorporating some modern Hebrew and some vocab and some fun activities that way. Bringing it back into the classroom allows our teachers to do language learning games and projects that they weren't able to do with only doing Hebrew on the one-on-one. The Hebrew homeroom will be the first 55 minutes of every Sunday, and it will be in grade level groups. So they'll start every single Sunday with their grade level. Kindergarten and first will be combined. 6th and 7th will be combined. Other than that, their second grade will start with all fellow second graders in the second grade Hebrew homeroom. We have new Hebrew curriculum as well, and that was developed by Rabbi Torup, experienced Hebrew teachers, a task force that was put together of those in our community who are really passionate about Hebrew education, and Rabbi will show you that in a moment, give you a little peek into that in a moment. And Tefillah this year we'll be doing once a month, and we're going to make it more of an affair. So Barbara Mazer-Gross, our music teacher, she's taken on the task of making Tefillah more experiential and more fun. We'll do it once a month, and it will occur during Hebrew homeroom that day of the month. Just to give you some perspective, this past year, the number of minutes we spent on Hebrew education here on Sundays on site was 180 total across the entire year. This coming year, our calendar and our schedule with Hebrew homeroom means that we'll be spending a total of 850 minutes on on-site Hebrew education with our seekers. So that just gives you a window into the drastic increase that we're making in terms of Hebrew education. Rabbi, if you want to share
Sure.
just a quick insight and view into.
Right. Yeah. You mute
I
yours,
will mute. Boom.
and you stop sharing.
Also do that. Okay. Pause share.
Okay. So this is the Google Drive where the parent information exists, and what I'm going to show you is very briefly an overview of the curriculum for the Hebrew. Let me get to the right one. Here we go. I'm not going to read you this long document because you don't need me to read to you, but eventually you'll take a look through it. This lays out why we teach Hebrew, and it very much fits into the overall philosophy of the Judaic program, which we're going to get to in a few minutes. But it is a key element of who we are as Jewish people. It is one of the things that makes Jews comfortable wherever you encounter Jewish life, is that there is a shared language, and even if we're not fluent speakers in Hebrew wherever we go, you know, when you hear the Shema in an Italian synagogue, it's the same Shema that we're saying here, and it helps us to feel connected if we have some familiarity with that. So in this document on the Hebrew language program, you have our specific goals about sparking interest, and specifically not just the idea that it is a living language, but also that fluency is part of what makes one literate as a Jew and able to participate in Jewish life. And so we've set out sort of what the expectations are, that if you go through the whole program, what you'll end up with at the end. And we've also included in this document clear expectations that we've articulated to our faculty, to our staff, as to what we're looking for them to do and how we want them to approach it. We haven't narrowed in yet on exact names for the Hebrew homerooms, but we're playing with either cities in Israel or regions in Israel, again, trying to make the link between, even if we're learning about the Mi Chamocha in a classroom, we are connecting that Hebrew to the modern land of Israel. And then if you scroll through the rest of the document, you'll see that there are specific grade level goals. The goals are a little bit broad insofar as it's K1, then it's first level, which is second grade, but then it's levels 3 and 4, and 5 and 6 are both together, because there's a little bit of a kind of a leeway depending on where kids are at and what they need to master next. There's a list of the prayer mastery list that we're shooting for with level 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then the task force spent a lot of time looking at a lot of different resources and books, and we've identified all of the resources for the levels. And if you want to check them out ahead of time, you can go and click on these links, and it'll take you right to where we're buying the books from. And then the other thing that we're working on, and we don't have all of the resources put together yet on how we're going to approach the modern Hebrew, but that'll be coming. And just to kind of answer a question that already came up, so there is part of the program is the Hebrew homerooms. The 5th and 6th graders will also be expected to do a one-on-one lesson, half hour a week. It can either be in person here at the temple, scheduled at your convenience and the convenience of the tutors, or it can be online through Google Chat or Skype. And that's a required part of the 5th and 6th grade fluency program. Any other students that are identified either by parents or by teachers as needing or wanting additional Hebrew. So it's both for the remedial to catch up those kids who might have gotten a later start on it, and it's also for enrichment for those kids that are flying, and we don't want them to feel bored and not have the opportunity to do something different. And this explains sort of about the tutoring. I'm not going to go into all of those details, but you can read them. It's 18 sessions a month. There'll be more information coming. All right, I'm going to stop sharing and give it back to you.
All right, I need to unmute. Can you hear me all right? Okay. Thumbs up. Great. Hi, Zach. Okay, so as Rabbi was just saying, we will still be doing the Hebrew tutoring midweek. It could be online or in person. Here's just some more information to agree with what Rabbi already said. It will be primarily for grades 5 through 6, and if Rabbi already said this, I apologize for repeating it. These first couple years, switching our approach to Hebrew, we're going to have to play some catch up. We're going to have to be a little stretchy and adaptive. We definitely have individuals for whom the one-on-one midweek Hebrew was working extremely well, and they want to continue that, and we're happy to work with those families. We definitely have families where the seekers maybe weren't loving that approach so much, and so as we're putting everyone back together in a grade level classroom, we're going to have a huge range of Hebrew proficiency there, and we're preparing for that. And so if we need to work with the 4th grader a little bit supplementary with the tutors, we can definitely do that. If we do have some other people that have definitely let me know that now that we're doing the Hebrew homeroom, they're not really interested in doing the midweek anymore. And so we're happy to work with that. We are recommending the midweek Hebrew on 18 sessions a year, about 2 sessions a month throughout the school year for grades 5 and 6. And that will help with the preparation towards the B'nai Mitzvah. So just as a comparison, again, this past year, the midweek Hebrew was for 3rd through 6th grade. So wide range of ages doing it. They only did it 20 minutes at a time for an undefined number of sessions. They were shooting for weekly. That only happened for a handful of families, and it was online was the only option there. This year, we're recommending it mostly for 5th and 6th graders at 30 minutes per session, just so it feels a little bit more productive and rewarding. Lucky number 18 sessions for the year. Online or in person, whatever works best for the family. All right, so after Hebrew homeroom, we'll transition into minyan time, or we'll transition into our different mixed age groups that we're calling minyanim. And I'm so super excited about this concept for a handful of reasons. One is mixing the ages is going to help us create more of a family here. There's so many important, beautiful, traditional life cycle events in Judaism, and even though we're surrounded by a community that's done the things successfully that we're about to do, oftentimes we feel disconnected from that kind of support. So by creating mixed age groups, we're going to be able to be big sisters and little sisters and big brothers, little brothers, and help to one another as a family more and more as we grow and get used to this setup. It also, I believe it will help with morale and attendance by having more gregarious, more lively groups of seekers together each Sunday. It will also allow us to really match teaching style to what our families are looking to get out of their Sunday school education. We have a huge range of what families are prioritizing when they come to Sunday school. That's why I asked you those questions on the registration, because we have families that are really looking for pretty traditional Jewish education, and we have families that are looking for nothing of the sort, almost secular humanistic Judaism, if you've heard of that. So we have a huge range, and by breaking down into mixed age group minyanim, it allows us to group seekers not only with those that they would like to be with their buddies, but new people that they might share a lot in common with and can connect with, and the teachers that are going to really excel at the priorities that that particular family has. So I'm really, really excited about that, especially about hopefully creating a more family feel. The parents, many of you on this call were parents that volunteered to be active or to help out in different ways. So if you said that you were interested in creating opportunities for families to get together outside of Sunday school, this would be your family, your minyanim to do that with. Although, of course, you wouldn't have to necessarily limit your connections in that way. And if you volunteered to help with plan a field trip, you would be working with your child's minyanim teacher or minyan teacher to plan an appropriate field trip for your minyan. During, and we'll talk a little bit more about cultural experiences in a moment, but I just want to highlight that the cultural experiences will happen during minyan time. Okay, so I'm going to pass back over to Rabbi because he's going to give you just basically an orientation into the folder where all of these curriculum documents exist. We don't expect to read through all of them with you, especially because they're organized according to minyans or minyanim, and you have not received the information about which minyan your seeker will be in yet. So we're going to give you an orientation to where that information is, and then once you find out your minyan before the 25th, you'll know where to go to find out more information about how your seeker's teacher is approaching our brand new custom curriculum.
Thanks, Sarah. So can you go back one slide just for a minute? There you go. So the curriculum is has been created based upon a particular lens of Jewish identity and the core values that we believe help to build that identity. There are 6 values that we're going to be tackling. It's really a variation on what we have been trying to do for a couple of years, but instead of trying to do every value every year and only skimming the surface, this will give us an opportunity to go into a deeper dive into each value, spending 1 semester on each value so that we'll get through 6 or actually 7, because in year 2 there's 1 semester that has 2 overlapping values in it over the course of 3 years. It also means that the seekers, if they are in the same minion group, they can stay there for 3 years and they will not repeat with that minion, with their peers, or with that teacher any materials, and won't be able to say, oh, we did this last year, because each year for 3 years is going to be different and dealing with different curriculum. I want you to pay attention to this this word lenses, Jewish identity lenses: story, language, land, people, spirituality, and responsibility. I'm now going to shift over to sharing with you, if I can get the share again. All right, where did I go? Here we go. So in the resource folder, there is a document that is referred to as the Temple Bethel Religious School Curriculum Overview. It gives us the why we're doing what we're doing, identifying ourselves as part of the Jewish people, and how do we define identity. It's connected to the story, land, language, and tradition and spiritual journey, and to embrace a sense of responsibility, which is a core piece of our temple mission, which is about diverse pathways to tikkun olam, to repairing the world, and tikkun nefesh, to repairing the self and character development and becoming the kind of people we want to be. So as Sarah Grace and I worked kind of really hard about thinking how's the best way to dive into this development of Jewish identity, we ultimately decided that the best structure that we could give, that would give a lot of support and a lot of direction and meaning, would be to look at every value through the lenses of story, people, and tradition. There are long definitions there. I'm not going to read them to you. Print it out, go online. You can get a sense of what it is. Our relationship to land, which is not just the land of Israel, but the planet Earth as a whole. The huge, broad range of what spirituality and the spiritual journey means to different people and families. So that's all outlined there, and our responsibility. So with these 6 lenses, which you can go more in depth and read, and then happy to take questions about or discuss. Can
I interject real quick?
Yeah.
I think this is, I don't know if any of you have been asked by peers or friends or family members or grandparents, like, what are they actually teaching at religious school or at Sunday school? You know, what are they actually learning? Or thought that yourself? Or maybe we're in a conversation with someone who's not Jewish, who didn't really understand what it was that we try and pass on to our children. I think this document here is kind of a guide to empowering you through conversations like that. So in addition to just understanding what your seeker is experiencing at Sunday school, I think it can be a really helpful resource in that way as well. Thanks.
Great, thank you. So so those are the lenses, and the idea then that we challenge the teachers, and I've been working with the teachers to do, is how do we then get enough depth in each value to go to use these lenses and to go deep. So there is a document that's entitled Complete TBE Values Curriculum for the fall of this year, Hakarat Tov. Hakarat Tov is our value for the fall, seeing joy and gratitude. This is the only full document that is completed. We will be building the spring document over the next period of time, and we will then build all of the subsequent years as we move forward. Hopefully, not take too long to get them all together, so we know where we're going. Every value will be framed by the essential questions that we're trying to answer. Not every minion will deal with every question, but this gives you a sense of kind of what is it about seeking joy and gratitude and affirming the good, this value of Hakarat Tov we're trying to instill. And then we've given teachers a planning map that they then help to create. All of the material that's in the small boxes with topics has all come from their work under our guidance and supervision, taking materials that we've put in their hands and materials that they have access to and stuff they love to teach, and worked out what's going to happen. And you'll see that there is some overlap from one minion to the next, which is great because everybody's teaching the same value. But you'll also see that there's a lot of different levels at which teachers are going to approach it based upon their own personality and their own interest. So the minyanim are listed across the top. K1 are the garinim, the seeds. Second to fourth grade group is the shorashim, the roots. Eitz Chaim, the tree of life, as the third to fifth. And then a fourth to sixth grade group is anafim, leaves. Seventh and eighth being the kochavim, stars. You can see that as a second grader, you're going to be in shorashim. But if you're a third grader, you could be in shorashim. You could be in Eitz Chaim. If you're a fourth grader, you could be in any one of the three, and so forth. So there's a lot of flexibility about where the kids can end up, and that's, I think, one of the powerful things that's happening. Can't figure out what exactly happened to my screen here. Hold on, there we go. Just gonna make it just a tiny bit smaller. So you can go back and read through this in detail and see the topics that are going to be touched on. Know that this is a work in progress. Know that the teachers are going to be developing the learning experiences that they're going to be leading out of this framework. And every semester will have a couple of kind of wild cards in it, which are the teacher options for them to extend one of the areas that they want to go and do more on, or if they have a favorite thing they want to teach, or there's a holiday that they want to focus on, then that's where it comes in. And if there's nothing in there, it doesn't mean that there's going to be nothing happening. It just means the teacher hasn't decided how to play their wild card yet, or when they're going to play it. And then the 7th and 8th grade Kochavim minyan has a bit more of their values combined because of their unique schedule, which you'll hear about some of the components, but so they've got a little bit less detail about what they're going to do, but Steve Hurwitz, as those of you who know Steve, just does a great job with that class, and he is really, really excited about taking what he usually does and blending it into this model of teaching to these values and these lenses. I'll just show you very briefly that there, in addition to the overview, there is also for each minyan, there is a single document that takes away all the other stuff that's going on. So once we figure out where everybody is, you can look at the document that is just your seekers. So if your seeker is in Shorashim, then this is the intention and the plan. And then at the bottom, it has the 3-year flow of the values of what we're doing this year, and then what's going to happen in year 2 and what's going to happen in year 3 as we spread our wings and cover all of this. Is that enough?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. I'll stop share. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Rabbi. Okay, so many of you, I'm sure you've read or heard about our capsule program option this year. You will find in that same Google folder of information that there's a specific flyer that goes into detail about the capsule program. So I'm not going to do a ton of that tonight, especially because it's not going to apply to many of you. But as you saw in the registration form, you had an option to request more information, to request that your seeker, if they were in grades 4th through 7th, were included in our capsule program, which is an experimental curriculum that, while the other minyanim will be focusing on the Judaic content that Rabbi just showed you, the seekers in the capsule program will be focusing on 21st century skills for personal development, so active listening, mindfulness, communication, empathy training, leadership, those sorts of things that are associated with our kids and adults, for that matter, thriving. As a therapist, I'm making the joke, like, these are the things that my clients come to me as an adult and say, I wish that I had learned this sooner. My life would be completely different if I had learned how to have conversations like this when I was much younger instead of older. My biases, or these are the things that are sort of missing from our education system that we really want our kids to be empowered with. So we'll be focusing on those skills, scaffolded by a long history of Jewish personal development and character development resources and values there. So it's just a different angle, and it's going to be an opportunity or place for some of our multi-faith families to engage where maybe they didn't feel like they had a place before as well. But it is open to absolutely anyone 4th to 7th grade who's interested in being a part of it. They'll still get to go to Hebrew Homeroom if they're a part of it. It is invitation only because I want a small, tight group going through this year, given that it's experimental, and that I want it to be extremely rewarding for those that take the chance to explore this. So everyone who is interested will get, if you have not already, information about it, which will be followed by an invitation to join the capsule program if you're part of that group. And that's all that I'll go. I'm happy to answer more questions, but just in case it doesn't apply, we will move on. So I told you that during Minyanin time, we'll be doing cultural experiences. And what that means is we're going to be taking a different approach to what we did as electives this year. So for those of you who had seekers younger than 3rd grade this past year, seekers in grades 3 through 7 got to choose one elective per semester, per season, if you will, fall and spring, to participate in for 5 consecutive weeks. And some of the options included cooking, Krav Maga, yoga was included in the Krav Maga, photography, and gardening, and music and performing arts. And they were wildly successful in a lot of ways. The kids loved participating in them. It really enriched the Sunday school experience. Some of the drawbacks or cons that we learned was that when we ask kids to commit to one for the whole semester, that really limits the number of experiences they can have. And it also limits other seekers who are interested in experiencing that same thing from getting a chance to do it for the whole year in some cases. So we're adapting the elective process and switching over to cultural experiences, which will not only broaden the number of different experiences a seeker can have, but also broaden the people that can come in and teach cultural experiences. Because instead of being a 5-week commitment from a specialist to come in and help, they could just do it once for 20 minutes, and our seekers would have the opportunity to do that. So the way that we're working on structuring it is probably starting in the month of October. We'll have a few Sundays in a row in which there will be multiple cultural experiences that open up to them for the last part of the day, and they'll get to choose in that moment. They'll get to exercise choice to say, do I want to go to Krav Maga and yoga and run around and play some active games, or do I want to go to photography, or the next week it may be music or cooking. And so they'll still get to elect what it is they participate in, but instead of it being a 5-week commitment, it will be a 1-day, 1-activity commitment. And we're going to see how that goes this year, and we're really excited to experiment with that approach. So family programs, we definitely noticed this past year that while family programs were building in momentum and value, that it's definitely problematic when they all stack up at one time in the year, and then it's feast or famine. So we shot for this year having one family program a month, which you will see reflected in the calendar as best to our ability. Some of them are off-site, like KOA. Some of them are on-site, and they will be exploring around town and celebrating the holidays together. Okay, this is the part that I'm most excited to share with you. Many of you have heard, if not all of you have heard at this point, that a big project we took on this summer in response to feedback. Those of you who were at the Innotentional workshops with me in the fall, you really voted on this being a priority, which was super exciting to us. And so we have tried to move away from our classrooms upstairs, like I said earlier, feeling like classrooms. And instead, we were inspired by the rooms in a home and have, over the summer, renovated all 9 of the rooms. So they are now taking on personalities inspired by a room in a home, but also meant to create a purposeful experiential learning opportunity. And this creates a foundation for us to build on what we can do here educationally and what we can do here as a community. And there's definitely more to be seen as far as that goes. So like I said earlier, every Hebrew homeroom will have a designated start room, and that'll be their homeroom. After Hebrew homeroom, each minyanim will meet in a different place depending on that teacher's lesson plan for the day. So if they're doing an art project, they're going to meet in our makerspace most likely. If they're making challah or studying different types of choroset, they're most likely going to meet in our kitchen. If they're doing Aleph Bet yoga, they're most likely going to meet in our mind-body space. And each one of the rooms has been equipped to provide learning opportunities for a wide range so that the teachers can share all the spaces effectively. And I'm just going to give you a little sneak peek into a couple of the rooms here. So this was our 2nd grade classroom. It is now our maker space. So you can see in the back corner, we have a new sink installed. We ripped up the carpet so we can be messy in there on the floor. We don't have to worry about glitter or paint. And we have paint racks. We have all of our craft stuff in one place now, and I could not be more excited about this space. Here you can see the sitting room. This used to be our 3rd grade classroom. It is now the study. This is the sitting area of the study, and these are the bookshelves in the other end of the study that have been artfully decorated. You'll see little hand casting figurines in there. Our teachers actually made those to symbolize, as a metaphor, which Jewish hand symbol signified or symbolized for them how they were supporting these seekers, this generation, through their own exploration of Jewish education. So those are displayed in our study, and I'm very, very proud of that. This right here was our 6th, 7th grade classroom, if you can remember what that looked like. That was the eggplant room, I called it. Everything in there was dark purple. This is now a big open space for being active and connecting our minds, our bodies, and our souls. This is another view of the mind-body room. This was our kindergarten and 1st grade room. This is now our quote-unquote kitchen. It doesn't have any appliances in it, so it's not a fully functioning kitchen, but how many of you do your homework in the kitchen, hang out and have the best conversations ever in the kitchen. The kitchen is like a hub in a house that oftentimes has very little to do with putting something on the stove, right? So our kitchen is going to be our hub in that way. And Adria Bernstein helped us out with an incredible art piece that features some of our favorite Jewish food groups and symbols there as well. So what you can't see in this picture is that we have a baker's rack, and we also have a rolling restaurant-style rack, so we can do prep in a very safe way up here. If we do want to use the actual kitchen, we can then put that stuff on a restaurant rack, roll it downstairs, and interact with the kitchen if need be. If not, this creates a safe place for our seekers to play with foods without having to be in the hustle and bustle of the main temple kitchen. So that's the sneak peek of 4 of our 9 rooms, and you'll see the rest of them when you come on the 25th, and I'm so excited to show them to you. Okay, so those are the rooms. These are just a few more things you should know. We have approached changes this year by breaking down changes into terms called sustaining innovations and disruptive innovations. Both types of innovation are really, really important. Sustaining innovations are just improvements to what's already happening, whereas disruptive innovations shakes things up completely and turns things upside down to see if we can project ourselves into further growth. And so what I wanted to highlight is that while disruptive innovation is extremely important, the grand majority of the changes we've made this year are merely improvements. They're sustaining innovation. So the example of that is we took the curriculum we had been working with, we honed in on everything that the teachers loved about it, and we improved the things that they didn't believe and our families told us weren't working. So it's basically the same program, just blown up and stretched out and improved and scaffolded. The elective experiences we're keeping around, we're just improving upon them again by keeping what worked and by trying to improve upon what didn't work. And what many parents don't realize is that last year, because attendance is what it is, and because our seekers have such a good time when they're together, many of our teachers were combining the classes for activities almost every Sunday last year. So even though this mixed age group thing seems like a really novel approach, our seekers were getting together, especially like 4th, 5th, and 6th and 7th grade. They were all getting mixed up last year for a lot of their activities. So that's an improvement, less of a brand new thing. The 2 main disruptive innovations that we're experimenting with this year are the learning space redo and also the capsule program that we're piloting. I also want to highlight that we want our seekers to want to spend time at TBE. Like I said earlier, that's a priority. We want them to grow into adults that care about Judaism while learning facts, learning traditions, learning crystallized information is definitely important to building identity. My main priority is that they get excited about Judaism. So they grow up into adults that want to go back and learn those crystallized pieces of information. To me, we're doing our job in building Jewish identity and building a future of Jews that want to protect our heritage and our tradition if we're exciting and inspiring in that way. And I believe a part of our role here as a community in this Sunday school is to create an environment where our seekers, our kids, can figure out what Jewish education looks like for their generation. It's looked different for every generation within Reform Judaism, and the teachers and I are creating space for them to show us what it needs to be from their own angle. So that's something that the teaching team has really been challenged to take on as a sort of perspective as we go through. And lastly, and this is connected to the next slide, really, really want to have a village approach. It makes a huge difference to these kids to hear that Jewish education is important, and then to see a whole bunch of adults here on Sunday that are actually backing up that idea. It's one thing to tell them that Jewish education is important. It's another thing to show them that Jewish education is important. And so So on the registration form, we ask for ways you might be interested in getting involved. The cultural experiences are ways to get more people involved. As far as I'm concerned, the more merriment here, the more we're going to meet our goals of creating joy and connection and purpose. And so if you haven't already, and many of you have, you can get involved by assisting with a program, becoming a lead parent, planning opportunities, greeting at the gate. And if you didn't already indicate on your registration form that you're interested in doing one of these things, you can certainly reach out to me directly and let me know. Especially lead parents, for sure. Okay, so moving right along, in the interest of time, the calendar for the whole year is now officially available to you. It's in this folder. We're going to follow the same schedule and timeline as we did last year, with just the Hebrew homeroom and Minyan time being broken down. Within that, you will see on the calendar that it's Technicolor Rainbow Bright, every color of the rainbow to help clarify some differences and help you focus on the information that you specifically need to know. It's also color-coded by grade. So what I suggest you do is that you take this calendar, and if you have multiple kids, you can do this multiple times and go through and just put a check mark in every box that applies to your family, and then just transfer only that information over to help you. So you'll see, and I'm just zooming in on this calendar that you have access to and can print out as a whole document for yourself, or save on your phone, or use however you like. But our Sunday school year begins with a Federation Community Learning Day. Temple Bethel is supporting this initiative of the Federation. We are not, it is not our program. Rabbi Torup will be mediating a really interesting parent session at this. You've received some marketing for it. If you like, afterwards, we can definitely help connect you to the marketing for it. It's happening at Temple B'nai Israel. So you are more than welcome as a family to go explore that opportunity. It's not happening here at Temple Bethel. You are encouraged to participate in that for sure. It's definitely looks like it'll be a really amazing event. We will begin with our kickoff and the open house on August 25th. 9:30 to 12 regular hours, followed by Labor Day, where we won't have school. And then we will have our first just regular Sunday on the 8th. I don't think we have any teen parents here. If we do, we can definitely check with you individually. And Bridget is doing another seminar tomorrow night, which she'll hone in on what the teens are doing. So anything for seniors or in that dark sort of blue-purple color that's a teen event, if you have questions about that, Bridget is your person for sure. Same with the Tarbut Adventures. Those are going to be off-site examples. Or off-site opportunities, to explore formal education, but in a very accessible, teen-friendly, experiential, out in the wild, as I like to say, opportunity. So in our community. So an example of that is, I think, one of the Tarbut Adventures that Bridget is planning includes studying houselessness and actually going and meeting with some people and doing some Tzedakah Live in our community, addressing the houselessness needs. All right. You'll see in October and November that we get going with a reverse Tashlik event, which will be at Sand Key this year, and a big party. Our Maccabia was super successful in May, and one of the pieces of feedback we got is that it would be really great if our families from TBI and TBE, the whole community, had an opportunity to connect at the beginning of the year, not just the end of the year. So we decided this year to make our reverse Tashlik experience not just part of the Sunday school morning, but collaborative with TBI. So it'll kind of book in the year with our Maccabia, everyone getting together, having a good time outside, and doing some good. More information about that to come. Consecration is at the Simchat Torah celebration this year, which is going to be a culinary tour through the Torah, and I could not be more excited about that. Please mark your calendars and be there with empty stomachs, ready to tour the entire Torah with food. What else? The KOA family camping trip. When we end here, I'm going to give you the commercial that the Jocelyn family has prepared about the KOA for you to have. It explains any questions you may have about the KOA and really amps us up. It's a great opportunity to create that sense of community that we're all looking for. We have another Federation Community Learning Day at a location that's TBD, as far as I know, on the 24th. We won't have regular Sunday school that day. We typically do not have Sunday school the Sunday before Thanksgiving, so this is like a bonus opportunity for education, for Judaic education. Okay. Moving right through, Friday Night Live. We're going to do latkes, celebrate Hanukkah together on the 20th. We're going to be off-site mostly in January. That's where some of our family experiences really stack up because the art show, just for the best, takes over Temple Bethel in the month of January. So if we're going to hang out as a Sunday school, we got to have all hands on deck. So there's a lot of family events that stack up in that month so that we can all be together in January while we're multitasking as a congregation getting our successful art show ready back at home. In February, what's happening here? What's happening, Rabbi? You will get information, obviously, just like you did last year, about each one of these events as they come. This is just a little orientation, so you don't feel like you're going into the year without any knowledge or understanding of how the flow of the year is going to work. I'm not going to go through too much more individually. If you have specific questions about events, you can add them, or you can talk to me later and look out for more resources. So just to show you, we go all the way through the end of year Maccabia field day. All right, we made it. I have no idea. We made it, and where is, how do I get to the chat? Stop share. Okay, there is the chat. So scrolling up to the beginning of questions, if we didn't answer it already, Hebrew homeroom is not only going to be modern and fun Hebrew. Actually, it's kind of the opposite. The way I understand it, and Rabbi can supplement this answer, is that it's decoding, learning how to read Hebrew, prepare for a B'nai Mitzvah, focus on prayer literacy that is then supplemented and enriched by the inclusion of modern and fun Hebrew. So focus is definitely not there at all. What else do we have? If private sessions are desired, can these also be arranged in mutually agreed upon locations outside of Temple? If so, can students be matched with teachers who may be closer to the desired location? Yes, is the blanket answer to that. If you did not indicate in your registration that you were interested in signing your seeker up for midweek Hebrew sessions, then you can reach out to Rabbi and or myself, and we will connect you to Alan, our Hebrew learning coordinator, who can match you with a tutor. And that can be, the pace of that and the location of that can be figured out with Rabbi's help and Alan's help, and the tutor, and we can meet individual needs that way. Depending on what's arranged, if you weren't if your seeker's not in 5th or 6th grade, then you're technically not paying for midweek Hebrew, which is what covers us and allows us to pay the tutors for their support in that way. So we may just ask you, if you're interested in that, to pay the midweek Hebrew fee that's additional on top of your registration, and we can work that out on a case-by-case basis for sure. Okay, what else?
Capsule program in Village State.
Okay, so one thing I might not be understanding is the capsule program in lieu of the Judaic Minyan. part of the Hebrew school or in addition. It is in lieu. So anyone who participates in the capsule program will not be going to another minyan. It's happening at the same time as the other minyanim. So the curriculum that Rabbi showed you is what the Judaic minyanim are going to be focusing on after Hebrew homeroom. If a seeker's in the capsule program, they will leave Hebrew homeroom, and instead of going to one of those minyanim, they will go to the room where the capsule program is, and myself. And that's when we'll focus on the capsule program curriculum. So it is in lieu, it's instead of, which is why it's an optional thing for families who are really excited by that option. It will not interfere with B'nai Mitzvah prep because seekers in the capsule program will still be able to go to Hebrew homeroom and can definitely still do midweek Hebrew and whatever else they need to go. In fact, as we're challenging many of our seekers to make the B'nai Mitzvah process their own, I might, as a bias, argue that the capsule program will really empower them to think creatively in that way and to prepare for their B'nai Mitzvah in that way. But that is my bias. Okay.
Grades for electives.
Grades for electives. All the minyanim. Instead of it being limited to 3rd through 7th, because we'll be able to do more, they definitely won't have 5 weeks of cultural experiences, but there will be cultural experience opportunities for all the grades, up to, so that's K through 6, because grades 7th and up in their minyanim will have tarbut adventures, so they'll be going off-site, and they will therefore miss out on some of the cultural experience opportunities. Okay.
Events. No, we're not hosting.
We are not hosting any Nifty events. Bridget, again, tomorrow night, and if you can't attend her webinar, it'll be posted just like this one and recorded. She definitely knows everything about everything that I don't know about the Nifty events, how they're structured, where they're going to be located, all of that. Can I go back to Sunday school? It sounds so fun. Yes, please.
Mm-hmm. Sarah, you're a lead parent. Absolutely.
All right, Sarah, we got you on Sundays now. You'll be a lead parent.
Oh boy, you would make a great lead parent, Sarah. Okay, any other?
Just raise your hand if you want to talk.
Yeah, raise your hands and jump right in, or you can type in the chat if you have any questions before we wrap up today. If the capsule program is successful, is there any thought about organizing something similar so that the kids can have the benefit experiences of both the Judaic Minions and the capsule program? Yes, there is that train of thought that has been had. If the capsule program gains momentum, and what we find is that more of our families are interested in that opportunity for learning here, there's definitely the opportunity to, one, explore how we can integrate and have elements of the capsule program be worked into the Judaic curriculum that everyone is getting across the board, or to just expand the number of spaces we have for the curricula, for the capsule program to more people. That the sky is kind of the limit as far as that goes, and we'll be keeping our minds open and eyes peeled for those sorts of opportunities based on how it goes this year in preparation. Yeah, go ahead.
So
I need it. I got it.
Okay. So I also just want to jump in and say that I think it's really important to know that the capsule program has an integrated Judaic value scaffolding, I think was the word that Sarah Grace used, which I think is a really good one. So it's not like they're not going to be encountering Jewish experiences or Jewish identity development as they're doing these other kinds of approach and character work. It's going to wrap into each other. And the second thing is that one of the purposes of the multiple and varied spaces is that I've heard Sarah Grace say this so many times now, is that she's trying to lead the teachers to create experiences each Sunday, not to look at it as a lesson or a lesson plan, but what experience are the kids going to have. And that experiential approach can be some
of the very kinds of experiences you might be imagining happening in the capsule program as a way of engaging seekers in whatever the areas, topics, and stories and things that the teachers are doing.
Any other questions? Pop right in or type it up, either one, before we wrap up tonight.
Comments, anybody? Reactions?
Okay, hold on. Let me find the KOA.
I just wanted to say I'm very impressed what you guys have done here. It really sounds like you've taken a lot of.
Melissa.
Oh, you hear me okay? You hear me?
We're both muted. Sorry.
You hear me?
We had our
We can hear you. All right, awesome. Yeah, I just find this very impressive. Looking at oh, Zach says hello.
Hello.
It seems like you've really incorporated a lot of the needs from all the different spectrums of all the different parents and everything. Sorry about the birds, guys, but it's very impressive what you've done here. I'll mute this so you don't hear my birds anymore.
Well, thank you so much for that. We're definitely really excited about it, for sure. Okay. I cannot figure out how to share. Whoop, whoop. I can't figure out how to share in the chat the KOA commercial. So what I would like to do is, this commercial is only 2.5 minutes long. I'm going to share screen again, so that if you want to hang around to watch the KOA commercial, it's going to be a part of the recording and you can see it here. And then we'll end with that. And if you have any questions, like we said, anything, it's not a forever hold your peace. If you think of something later, go ahead and shoot me an email or even a text, and I'll respond as soon as possible tomorrow or the day after, and get you whatever sort of information you need. Rabbi, you want to add?
One more plug for the youth engagement.
Oh, yes. Also, don't forget, if you know someone or if you yourself has someone has a seeker in grades 6 through 12, definitely sign on to the webinar. Same time tomorrow night. You can use the same link, or you can use the link that was provided specifically for the youth engagement webinar. Bridget will be decoding all of those acronyms on the schedule that have to do with youth engagement. And she'll be detailing all of these incredible opportunities, some classic and traditional, some brand new opportunities for our youth. It's really exciting tomorrow night. And if you can't tune in again, you'll find a recording of this and that webinar in the parent info, or in the Sunday School info folder link that we provided earlier. Okay, so I'm going to now share the KOA commercial. And here we go.
Hi, everybody. We're here to talk about the KOA. It's coming up soon. It's one of our family-friendly events that is the best thing with Temple Bethel. So, Hannah, what's one important thing that our families need to know?
So you can save the date from November 1st to the 3rd. That is when the KOA is happening. Now, a common question is, what are some fun things that my family can do?
Ooh, Riven, what do you like about the KOA?
I like playing with kids.
Oh, so then families can play with kids. There's also putt-putt golf, swimming, kayaking, biking on the Pinellas Trail, Shabbat under the stars, s'mores, movie night. That's just to name a few.
I like everything.
Now, another common question people have is, how can I guarantee a chalet cabin?
Well, I think the important piece is to know the difference between a chalet and a cabin. Cabin basically is rustic. It has beds to sleep in, but you have to provide your own linens. And cabins can sleep anywhere from 2 to 8 people, whereas a chalet has a kitchenette, a full bathroom. It's glamping in style. So how do you get one? Well, first thing is we have a raffle that we do every year. And the raffle is our #1 and only fundraiser for the KOA. It helps us pay for the chairs, the wood for the campfires, the meal Friday night, and bunch of other things that contribute to the KOA. In order to purchase a raffle tickets cost $25 for one, or if you want to increase your chances, 2 or more tickets become $20 each. You can come in during religious school times to purchase tickets from me or other KOA committee members, or you can go online and purchase KOA tickets. The opening time period is from September 8th through October 13th. The raffle will be happening on the 13th of October, immediately after religious school. And that's where families get to select, when your ticket is drawn, you get to select the chalet or cabin of your choice. So Hannah, what are your favorite things about the KOA?
Well, my favorite things are just spending time with my family and friends in general. I love biking on the Pinellas Trail with my friends. I love just being around them for a whole weekend. It's just everything in one. It's amazing, and I love going to the KOA every year.
So we look forward to seeing you at the KOA. If you have any questions, my name is Jamie Jocelyn, and you can contact me at JAYMEJOSLYN@gmail.com.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Yay.
Hey, that's awesome.
All right, everyone, that wraps us up for tonight, and I cannot wait to see you on the 25th at our kickoff, where you'll get to see all the rooms and interact with them as family, and we can get this year started right. All right? Thank you so much.